welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of Your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for In Session Film. I'm co-host of the Slashers podcast. I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Yes, you are.
Indeed.
And Dave unfortunately couldn't make it this week, so we're doing the show as a duo. Well, we have plenty of movies to talk about, which we'll get to in a moment. Before we get to that, though, I want to say that over on our Patreon this week, in our exclusive audio, we are talking about the 2006 film The Fall. We had a very fun conversation about that movie. If you're not familiar with it, listeners, which you might not be, it's kind of has a cult following. It was not available to own for a long time. It's back. It's available to rent. So we had a very fun convo about that. So if you're a patron, check that out. And if you are not a patron, please consider joining for $5 a month. You get access to weekly bonus episodes like that one and hundreds from our back catalog. You also get to vote in monthly polls. We'll pick out a topic. We'll throw some movies at you. You get to choose which one we're going to watch. And that's always a good time. And while I'm on the topic of Patreon, I want to say thank you to our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
And yeah, so that's the spiel on Patreon. Let's get to this week's movies. We have Together, To Kill a Wolf, She Rides Shotgun.
We were talking off mic that it sounds like when you put all those titles together, it sounds like a fun little poem.
Yeah, it does. I feel like I should be like standing over here like snapping. Like, Together, To Kill a Wolf, She Rides Shotgun. Like,
nice.
Just picturing like slam poetry, but also it felt kind of like it could be a haiku, but it's definitely not a haiku, but it feels like it could be. So yeah, we have 3 movies to talk about. So we'll start with Together, which is a movie that Megan saw. Then we'll move on to Kill a Wolf and She Rides Shotgun. So Together is a horror film, and it's written and directed by Michael Shanks, and it stars Dave Franco and Alison Brie. Megan, do you want me to read the IMDb summary, or would you prefer to give your synopsis?
I can give the log line from the studio.
Okay.
And it could be the same as the IMDb. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, that's true.
With a move to the countryside already testing the limits of a couple's relationship, a supernatural encounter begins an extreme transformation of their love, their lives, and their flesh.
Ooh, yeah. Sounds like some nice body horror. I've seen some posters of this movie where their like lips are stuck together and their like hands are stuck together. So definitely interested to hear about this. And then listeners, if you don't know that Dave Franco and Alison Brie are a couple in real life. So that's a fun element to this movie.
It does.
So yeah,
okay.
Tell me more, Megan.
Okay, so Alison Brie plays Millie, Dave Franco plays Tim, and Millie and Tim have been together a really long time, I believe over 10 years. And the film opens with them, and they live in the city, and they are having a party because they're about to move away, and they're going to move to the country for Millie's job. And Tim is in a band, and he's been in a band for a very long time, but his band isn't like making it. And so he's kind of like, treading water career-wise. And whereas Millie is a teacher and she's doing great. And so it's very clear they love each other, but it's also clear that there's some cracks in their relationship and there's some issues. And like he doesn't really want to move to the country. He wants to stay in the city, and he also doesn't drive, which I can very much relate to as someone who hasn't driven in a very long time, having lived in the city. You don't need to. There's public transit. So anyway, Millie is the one who drives. So he's worried about being really reliant on her because she's the driver, and he gets a gig with another band where he's going to fill in as like their guitarist or something. And he's like, will you be able to take me to my gigs? And she's like, no, but I can take you to the train station and then you can take the train to your shows. And he's like, okay. So they move into this house, and they go on a hike, and because they're like, oh, there's nature and it's beautiful. And so they go on a hike, and they're kind of bickering, not mean-spiritedly, but kind of like, no, I think it's this way. No, it's this way. No, we're lost, like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And they fall into a hole, and which leads them to like this cave. But it also kind of looks like it's sort of a building in a weird way, because there's like seats built into the walls of this cave. And they see some weird things like hanging, like symbols or something hanging from the walls of this cave too, or like a bell, something like that. And so they're like, this is kind of spooky. And then they're like, but they can't get out because I can't remember why, because it's been a bit since I've seen this movie. But they can't get out, so they're gonna wait until the next day. And one of them doesn't really want to stay. The other one's like, no, it'll be fine. And then they've run out of water. And so, because they also weren't expecting this to be like a very long hike. They were expecting like just kind of like a quick jaunt in the woods. Yeah. And so there is a kind of not a pond, but there's some water. There's some water in this cave. Mm-hmm. And Tim
Still
is like,
water?
I think so. Yeah, which is not great because there's always bacteria. Maybe it's running. I don't remember. But like, yeah. But like, you don't want still water because there's bacteria. There's always bacteria.
Algae, parasites, all kinds of nastiness.
Exactly. So Tim takes a sip from it and he's like, it's fine. This water is fine. And she's like, I don't know. So then they end up falling asleep. And then the next day they get out, and before they get out, they wake up and their legs are stuck together. And they're like, what the fuck? Well, this is weird. And like, what is this? And Tim is like, he hypothesizes, I think it's just some like mildew or like moss or something absurd like that. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what? And so they rip their skin to get apart. And like, it's not like super bloody or gory, but it's painful. It's painful that their skin is like, stuck together. So then they get out of the cave, and then weird shit starts happening like almost immediately, where if Millie is too far away, Tim starts having like panic attacks. And like for instance, he tries to go to his show and he's at the train station and he physically cannot get on the train. He starts doubling over in pain. He's really uncomfortable. And Millie is at her neighbor's house, and the houses are really far apart because they're like really entrenched in the woods. But her neighbor is also one of her coworkers at the school. He's a teacher too. And so she's at his house talking, and they're kind of like talking about their lives and they're talking about school or whatever. And then she sees Tim like lurking in the window, which is like really funny and creepy. And she's like, why didn't you go to your show? And he's like, I just couldn't. And so she's really getting annoyed because he is complaining about things, but he's like not doing things, like he's not going to his shows or whatever. And so, and he thinks like something's going on, which it is, because later their bodies are like magnets. They're like drawn together. And there's this really creepy, great scene where they're in the hallway where they're trying to be separate from each other. They're like, no, we have to stay apart because weird things keep happening. Like, for instance, they have sex, which is also another point of contention between them in their relationship. They haven't had sex for like a really long time. And every time Millie initiates, Tim's like not into it. So they're having sex. And by the way, they're having sex at her school in the bathroom.
Oh boy.
And then they hear footsteps and it's a kid. And so she's like, we gotta stop. And obviously they stop. And then after that, it's a teacher who comes along, and the teacher is her neighbor who she ends up becoming friends with. And so she's like, we got to get apart. And because they're stuck together after having sex. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And she like rips and like he's in like a lot of pain, obviously.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So weird things like that are happening. So then fast forward to they're in the house and they're like magnets and they're in the hallway and their bodies are like being moved towards each other, like almost as if they're not moving their bodies. And like it leads for all kinds of weird contortions and weird things their bodies are doing. So their bodies are like trying to get stuck together. Their bodies are like drawn to each other. They cannot be apart. And so their lips are getting stuck. Their legs are getting stuck. Their flesh is getting stuck, like all kinds of weird things. And so they're also trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And so it happened because of the cave and the water, of course.
Shocking.
Shocker. But also come to find out, and this is like kind of drawn out throughout the course of the film, there also was a cult, and so it also has some cult things going on.
Ooh.
And so the cultists have bells in their like at their entryways of their doors, and that kind of like signifies they're part of this cult. And you eventually see late in the film that the teacher that Millie is friends with has a bell and he's part of the cult. Like,
I
shocker.
was just going to say, it's got to be the neighbor. The neighbor's got the bell.
Because there are not many people in this film. So it's like, it has to be, like, who else is it going to be? And it's funny because they have a dinner party with him, where it's just like the three of them having dinner. And they ask about this cave. They're like, oh, we got stuck in this weird cave. And they're like, and yeah, there's some weird things because we saw some bells and we saw these chairs in the wall. And he's like, oh yeah, there was like a group of like, I don't know, pagans or something and some like hippies, and like kind of totally brushes it off. But no, this is still like very much like happening because he is a member of this cult. So, and it's kind of like a mystery in the sense that like they're uncovering what's going on. And the whole thing about this cult is they do a ritual to merge bodies. So your partner and you are one, and you will always be one, and you'll always be together. And you know, and the teacher guy talks often about his partner, but like you never find out like what happened to that partner. Oh, well, what happened was they became one person. So they're merged. So, yeah.
Who decides who's like the primary person? How does that work?
I don't think there is one. But that's a great question. Who is? Because somebody's got to decide. So, yeah. So then they're like, okay, this is what's happening. What the hell are we going to do? And then Tim decides that the only way out of this is basically to kill himself. So Millie will have a chance to survive. But so I don't remember something happens where she gets injured, like seriously oh no, I'm sorry. That's what happens. She gets seriously injured and she's going to die. And she's like, you'll be free now. You can finally, do what you want and go after it. But like, she says it in like a really nice way, not like a kind of guilting kind of way. And he saves her life, and he saves her life by like putting his hand inside like her wound. So they are merged, and she's like, why did you do that? We would have been free from this. And he's basically, he didn't want to live like without her and didn't want that to happen. And so the climax of the film is them fully merging, and you see their eyes coming. So like some of the posters have like their eyes like, super, super close. Oh yeah. Their eyes are like merging. Their faces are merging.
Sounds gnarly.
It is some creepy body horror. Like, it's wild. So their bodies are coming together and everything. And then the movie ends where the whole time she's been talking about her parents are going to be coming for dinner. And so you see a car pull up, you see an older couple get out, they knock on the door, and then it's a completely different person who answers the door. And the completely different person is a merging of both Tim and Millie. And that's how it ends. So they are now this one new person, or the two merging of them. So yeah, so I liked this. I think Alison Brie and Dave Franco are great in this. They have not a surprise, they have a great rapport. Although not always, couples don't always have a great rapport on screen, but that certainly helps. And they definitely do have a great chemistry on screen. And I really like both of their performances. It's very clear that Tim and Millie really love each other, but they're also highly frustrated with each other and don't like the direction their relationship has gone and have disagreements about certain things in their life. The body horror is really gross and really great.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's like ugh, and like but funny and disturbing and kind of all the best ways you want body horror to be. It looks good. It looks like the practical effects look really great. My one issue, and I also think so. It's funny because a lot of people have talked about like, oh, this is I've seen pull quotes and I've seen reviews talking about how this is a great date horror movie. I don't think this is a romantic horror movie by any means. I think this is all about codependency, which gives me the heebie-jeebies and creeps me the fuck out. And so, like, to me, this is like commitment gone wrong. Like, this is just wrong, all kinds of wrong. Like, to me, this isn't like, oh, isn't that sweet? They're going to be one. They're going to always be together. Like, to me, it's like, no, they're losing their individuality. And that's gross and awful. So for me, this is like, no. But I think it does codependency really, really well. And I think that it visualizes it in a great way, in a really visceral, unnerving way. I really was into this until probably the last like 10 minutes. I really like the body horror when they're coming together just because it's so like icky. But at the same time, I'm not sure how I feel about that ending where they do become one person. I'm not sure that ending is fully earned. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I feel kind of conflicted about the ending. So I don't think the ending fully lands for me personally, but the rest of it is great. Everything leading up to it, I really enjoyed.
Okay, cool. No, I mean, I'm definitely interested. You spoiler piece me. I mean, I think I was already interested, but you definitely said a lot of things that sound interesting about this movie.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of funny moments, and I'm not always into funny horror. But it's not like a comedy. Like it's more like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening funny. Or like there's some funny, like the scene where he's like lurking and she's like, geez, I can't get away from him. Like, that's kind of, darkly, morbidly funny.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gallows humor.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So there's like humorous moments like that. The fact that their bodies are changing. There's some gross things that are also kind of, amusing and humorous there too. But yeah, so I like the performances. I like the visuals. I think there are a lot of good things here. Like I said, the ending just didn't fully land for me. And I'm still kind of thinking about why that is. Because it might be my own personal, like, I don't find it, like I said, I don't find this premise romantic at all. I find it disturbing. And so maybe that's why the ending didn't work for me. Where someone else, it might.
So you think that was the filmmaker's intention, was that this is supposed to be a romantic ending?
I don't know, because I read the director's statement, Michael Shank's statement in the production notes, and he acknowledged that there's codependency here, like that it's about codependency and monogamy and long-term relationships. So I don't know if he really finds this romantic. I don't know if it's kind of a commentary on, because it very well could be a commentary on how this is something that people might find romantic, but I don't. So I'm not entirely sure. But I think there are people in the audience who will find it romantic or something about it romantic.
Gotcha. Yeah, to me, it just sounds like the physical culmination of a lot of body horror is that like the person's dead, they're like forever maimed by whatever happened to them, or whatever substance or creature they've just transformed into that, and that's just how they have to live now. Right,
but it's all out of their control. It's all beyond their control. Right. Yeah.
And how they choose to live with that, it's like either they find some type of weird acceptance to it, which seems like they did in this movie, or they don't, and they either run away or kill themselves or whatever.
Right.
Okay. So sounds like you ultimately, on balance, would recommend this movie.
Yes, I would.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then let's move on to Kill a Wolf. So, To Kill a Wolf. This is so the plot summary. It's written and directed by Kelsey Taylor, and it stars Madison Brown, Ivan Martin, Caitlin Doubleday, and Michael Esper. Those are the main characters. And here's the IMDb summary. In a modern reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood, a social pariah discovers a teenage runaway in the Oregon wilderness and does his best to help her find her way home. A troubling exploration of trauma and redemption. That's a weird break in that sentence and a weird break in the thought. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny too. Like, To Kill a Wolf, there's definitely a mental image that comes up. But listeners, I can say that no wolf dies in this movie.
No.
there's an injured wolf who gets freed from a trap. But
Thank
the wolf
God.
is a metaphorical wolf in this case. And it is a shitty, gross man. That is the wolf.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. I saw that coming a mile away in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, of course it's going to be some shitty, terrible man. And it's like, especially too when, Madison, is it Maddie? Is that her name? No.
Danny?
Danielle, that's right.
Oh, because Madison's the actress's name.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I was. Madison Brown. Yeah. So let's see. So like the opening of the film, we're seeing this guy who. Well, first of all, we just see a young woman frantically running through the woods. We're like, okay, we get it. There's our Red Riding Hood. Then it's like the title. Then you see this kind of like loner guy who's living in the woods. We got our woodsman, I guess, and he's like using a metal detector, and he's finding like bear traps, or well, you find out they're wolf traps ultimately, but he's like finding them and triggering them so like wolves, won't get hurt by them. He's like, listening to records and soldering stuff in his like record setup. He's a very like solitary guy. He's going to the grocery store, buying crap like ramen and pudding and stuff. And you're just seeing like these like stark shots of this like wilderness. And he's like out one day and he finds this girl who's like sleeping in the woods, but ultimately like he touches her and feels like, she's maybe got like a low pulse or barely breathing. So he like grabs her and like brings her to his house, and he like puts her in the bed, warms her up, like gives her like food in a not weird way. I know I'm describing it maybe in a weird, gross way.
Yeah, no, that does
like
sound like it could be creepy.
Completely above board, like
yes,
nice man who sees someone, helps her, like gives her plenty of space. Like he gets her to the bed, leaves her in bed, lets her sleep up there, doesn't bother her, brings her some tea, and then like she comes down and like sits down, grabs a bowl of like soup or whatever it is that he's eating, and then like he's like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you out in the middle of the woods? Kind of a thing. And like she's pretty tight-lipped at first. Like she's not really telling him a lot about what's going on. She's kind of like plays dumb. It's like, I don't really remember how I got out there. And like even later she's like, I got into a fight with my aunt. Which is like totally not a real description of what happened, but
oh boy, is it not.
So yeah, she's hanging out there for a minute, and he's, showing her what he's got going on, like what he does on his daily basis. Just like seeing his routine. There's some rancher guy who shows up when he's like gone, and she says, oh, I'm his niece. And you find out he's the guy that's setting the traps, and he's paying to like use the land. It's like in the middle of the woods. Because he's like trying to keep the wolves from getting to his cattle. Let's see what else. We find out that this guy, he's a loner because he was an alcoholic. He killed a woman when he was drunk driving, and this place that he lives belonged to a sponsor, the only person who kind of like didn't turn his back on him. And he's been living this like very isolated life. He doesn't even like have a phone, but you can tell that he is immediately wants to know what's going on with Danny and wants to help her. So like at first he's kind of like, oh, I got to take you to the bus station. I'm going to take you to your aunt and uncle. And then when it's clear that like she really doesn't want to go, he's like, okay, well, she says that she's trying to get someplace, and he's like, okay, well, what's there? She's like, oh, my grandma's there. So then like they hop in the car. It's a little bit of like a road trip movie. You find out that her grandmother died, I think like a month and a half or something before this. And she was supposed to go live with her aunt and her uncle. And then we kind of were there, and there's an empty house, and then she flashes back to what happened, before, when she ran away. And like her uncle, it's very obvious, like when he shows up, that he has a very creepy like vibe toward her. Like, a lot of the like typical like abuser signs that you see is like, oh, you want a splash of alcohol? Or, you can go hook up with whoever you want to, guys, girls, whatever, when you live under our roof, like no big deal. And then like he's just making advances on her, and it's getting grosser and grosser to the point where it's like they're all like packed up, and they leave the grandmother's house, and him and her are riding in the car together, and he drives her to a motel. They just like get off the road, and he's like, oh, we can have time together, and like we could just tell your aunt that we like ran into car trouble. And they like go into a hotel room, and she's like so uncomfortable, and he's like, I don't know, it's kind of hot in here, I'll like go get us another room, like don't get too comfortable. And then she's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So she runs, she bolts, and so that's how she ends up in the woods. And then we kind of like end up merging back into what's going on right now, where what happens? They get pulled over or something? Or how did they end up? I'm trying to remember like the next part of the movie, like how they end up in the police station like later on.
Oh, yes. That's right. Doesn't a cop
the cops come to the house.
Yes.
That's what it is. So they're in this house that's supposed to be empty, supposed to be for sale. He comes back, the woodsman comes back with a phone, and he's like, here, take this prepaid phone. You got to call your aunt and uncle. But like, also like, you can call me if you need anything. You got to go back with them. The cops come and find them there, and, call the aunt and uncle to come get her. And while he's in the police station, he's not really, for some reason, they don't really let him talk to her anymore, which is bizarre to me. But he's like slides her like a note with like the phone number, because he got himself a prepaid phone, and he's like, now I have a phone, you can call me if you need me. And he ends up like sitting outside the police station, and for some fucking reason, the uncle is the one who picks her up. I'm like, why wouldn't the aunt come and pick up her niece after all of this shit that has gone on? Like, she doesn't know necessarily that the uncle is the reason she ran away, but I feel like, shouldn't she care or want to be there for her? You would think. And so the woodsman follows them back to the house, like, and he's kind of like keeping an eye, and Danny comes out and was like, yeah, I guess I'm okay. Like, you can leave. You don't have to stay. And then, sorry, I'm trying to remember, because I watched this like several days ago. So I'm trying to remember all the stuff that happens. So like, then the next thing is that she's upset and doesn't want to live in this house and have her uncle like creeping on her. Because he like sits in the car with her, and he's like, oh, well, we can't tell your, aunt any of this that happened. She'd be heartbroken. And he's like, let's just pretend this didn't happen. And he's like, but let's take us just step back. Like trying to say like, oh, let's keep pursuing this inappropriate relationship. And she's like, no, I'm not into that. And he's still creeping on her, still being just gross. And she just ends up telling the aunt what's going on. And that, obviously, that blows things up, and he tries to like gaslight her and say that she's lying to the aunt. And then it's just so clear that that's really what happened. And she ends up like getting the fuck out of there and it seems like she's going to go stay with Jonah, the woodsman. And meanwhile, Jonah is going to the memorial for the woman that he killed, and is kind of like having a moment there to try and like apologize, make amends, what have you. And he gets a phone call. That's like the movie ends. It's like he picks up the phone. I think that's everything. I think that's all the important stuff.
No, that is.
So yeah, what do we think about this movie?
Well, I liked this. I really liked the setting of the woods. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Oregon woods are really beautiful. Um, I I thought this looked good. I thought this sounded
Yes.
good. I think the sound
Mhm.
design is also really great,
Yes.
considering this is such a small, low budget indie film. I was like, wow, this really looks and sounds great, which is
Mm-hmm.
already a great way to start things off. And I liked Jonah's character. I like how he's very, very withdrawn and very kind of curmudgeonly because he's so withdrawn, but he's very clear that he wants to help Danny.
Yeah.
But I very much like, because at first when this is starting, you're like, oh God, is he going to be the creepy one? Like,
Right. Is he going to be the wolf?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Is he the
Mhm.
creep? And it's like, oh no, he's giving her space. He's doing all the right things, which I'm like, okay, this is boding well. That's great. And like also at first, it's like he harps on the fact that she's vegetarian because she's eating beans like around the hot dogs that he
Mhm.
made. And he's like, oh, you don't like the weenies? And she's like, I don't eat meat. And that's kind of like the only information she gives about herself.
Right.
And he's like, oh, and like, and then he kind of like, asks her about it more later on. And he gets a little more information from her where she talks about like her grandmother. She's like, I don't think my grandmother liked anything. Like, I don't think she liked food or TV or music or anything.
Yeah.
And, and at first you think, because Jonah talks to this stuffed raccoon that's in the house, and so I'm like, this is weird. He's setting off traps, but he also has a stuffed animal, like a live, well, once was alive, like a taxidermied animal.
Taxidermied raccoon.
Yeah, so I'm like, what's going on? But then it's great that you find out, like, no, he's not cool with the hunting, with the traps. It's just he needs the money, as he says, and the story he tells Danny about the wolf that chewed through their foot was so sad. And like
Right.
after that moment, he was like, nope, I'm not into these. I'm not into the traps. And so I like that because he was kind of giving her shit about being a vegetarian. I was like, oh no, is he a dick? But no,
Yeah.
he's not. He's not at all. And so he's just gruff and rough around the edges. And so I really liked their rapport. I liked his performance. I thought Danny, the actress who plays Danny, I was like, okay, she's not really giving a whole lot. She's very kind of sullen, very kind of like one-dimensional. But then as the movie goes on and you see her in other scenes where she's got to emote more, I'm like, oh no, she's really good here. So I liked her performance a lot more as the movie continues on. Yeah, I was not surprised at all that the uncle was the creep, and he
Yep.
was so gross and so awful. And the fact that the aunt goes off to work, like once Danny comes back home, and then he keeps trying to touch her, like touch her hair, touch her shoulder, and she's
Right.
like cringing and like visibly uncomfortable. And she hasn't said anything, like in any of the scenes with the two of them. She doesn't say much. She's just silent. And because she's
Mhm.
probably like shutting down inside because she's so traumatized and revolted. And
Yep.
then she finally says to him, like, don't touch me. I don't want you to touch me. And then he's like, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, oh, I already knew you were a fucker. And now I know for like, even
Right.
like, that's just your manipulative, abusive tendencies have been amplified that much more because what a gross thing to say to somebody.
Mhm.
And the fact that he's a sexual assaulter, like all of
And
it is just
a therapist too. He's like
Yes.
using like therapy
yes,
speak and like
yes, he
turning
uses
it around
therapy
on
speak.
people.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said that because and like the fact that like he also is doing he's kind of negging her too because he's like, oh, send me your work. Your last article was so great, but you're really focusing too much on this, this, and this. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just disgusting. So he's trying to like abuse her on like every level, which is so, he's so fucking awful. So I think the depiction of abuse is done really well and really accurately, and unfortunately, really, really accurately and creepily. But yeah, and I like that the film ends on kind of an ambiguous note, but not so ambiguous enough that you know she gets away and you know that she has called Jonah. And
Mhm.
like in my mind, I'm like, okay, she's gonna go off and live in the woods with him and they're gonna have like a good friendship. Like, and
Yeah.
have like a little family, like a little community. And I think it's something Jonah says when he says to her, when he talks about how he shouldn't even be here, like he should be in jail and he never should have driven drunk, and the fact that he feels so terrible about killing the woman that he killed because she was really beloved and a teacher and all these great things. He says that his sponsor, Dave, like really inspired him and taught him like, hey, even if you can't do anything like, or something like, the one thing you can do is help somebody, like, and he's like, that's what I'm trying to do and pay it forward. And I really liked that.
Yeah, I think the line is, if you can't help yourself, help
That's
someone
it.
else.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
The lesson that he took from his
Yes.
sponsor. And so he's like, so I'm here. I'm helping you. That's what I can do.
And I love that. And this is a really slow and quiet movie, but I think it's got a lot going on. And I really liked the performances, and I liked the cinematography, and I liked the way this unfolded. So yeah, I liked this. What did you think?
So movies like this are one of the reasons why I love doing what we do here on the show. Like, I would not have heard of this movie otherwise if I wasn't a critic. It would not, you know what I mean? It would just fly so far under the radar. I probably would never come across it otherwise. But, I love what we do because we can find movies like this, like really indie films that are really well done and a really interesting idea. And it sucks you in with the like, oh, it's kind of like a modern day Red Riding Hood, different take on it. And it is, but I think it's much more interesting in all the ways that you've described. Like the fact that Jonah's character has so much texture and backstory to him. He's not just a grump who lives in the woods. He's not like some axe wielding guy. He has a backstory that's very tragic, but very textured. And he's lived a life and has had a lot of time to reflect on his mistakes and ways that he can do better. And he is trying to do better. And I really like his rapport with Danny. I really like the scene where they're at the bar and she's talking about her grandmother, was like a grump and didn't like anyone. And it seemed like she didn't even like her, but they lived together.
I know, that was sad.
That was sad. And also like her aunt Jolene, when Jolene's like talking about what a miserable woman her own mother was, that also was like really sad. But then like the next morning when she's like, yeah, I'm really sorry. Like, I was popping off at the mouth last night about your grandma. I know this must be hard. Like, that all was really engaging. And yeah, the uncle, that was a good performance. He was gross and creepy. And I saw that coming a mile away. As soon as she said I had a fight with my aunt, I'm like, her uncle did something gross to her and she fled. Before we even met the uncle character or knew that there was an uncle character, that's immediately what I thought.
Yeah, as soon as I saw somebody, a girl running in the woods, I'm like, oh, who's the creepy dude she's running from?
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, you could take the idea of like, oh, a modern Red Riding Hood, and we could make it like action-y. And I think there was a movie we saw several years ago, and I'm blanking on the name.
We did. It was called Hunted.
Hunted, which did take the action horror angle. But I like that this is a quieter movie. I like that this is a drama. I think there's some really great performances. I think there's a lot of really solid drama. Like you said, it looks really good. The shots of the wilderness, there's very sharp, vivid cinematography, very textured.
Yes.
In the woods. And I'm not a woods guy. I'm not an outdoor person. I don't like hiking. I don't like camping. I jokingly refer to myself as an indoor cat. And I don't think I ever want to live in the Pacific Northwest either. But there is some really striking cinematography in this.
Yeah,
it makes the woods look really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say this makes it look really seductive. I'm like, ooh, I do want to move to the Pacific Northwest now.
So I really enjoyed this movie. I think it was really well done. I mean, probably one of the top movies I've seen this year.
Oh, yay!
I liked it that much. I found it really compelling. So.
Yeah, this was such a nice surprise. Like, like you said, it's such a gem. Like, I was not. You always go in hoping for the best, but you don't know what you're gonna get. And it's funny because when we read about this film, I thought it was gonna go kind of the action route the way Hunted did. And that movie's
Mhm.
bonkers. Like that movie is just,
Yeah.
it's unhinged. And that's
Mhm.
fun. And that was great too in a very different way. But I agree with you. I like that this is much quieter. This is much more subtle. This is much more, there are much more internal things happening with these characters. And I like that direction. I like that it's taking these fable archetypes, but doing something different with it than what you'd otherwise see. There are no
Mhm.
fantastical elements. There are no horror elements, but that doesn't make it any less, engaging or compelling. And so I really, really appreciated that. So I agree. This is really well done.
Yep. Obviously, I would recommend this to film listeners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The wolf survives, and
Yep,
it's
that's true. They
unconventional family friendship forming. I'm here for that.
Mhm. Yeah, I always like that in a movie or a TV show.
Totally.
Yeah, them freeing the wolf was great when they had like a whole system for like a blocker basically to like prevent the wolf from trying to like attack them when they got it free. And was so glad that I also love that he was going around pissing on the traps too.
Yes,
it's really funny.
It's actually smart though too, because they're it'll keep them away probably, so and it's a great fuck you.
I'm embarrassed to admit that initially when I was watching, I was thinking that he was also just like treasure hunting in the woods.
I did
then,
too.
Like, was coming across the I didn't realize that he was specifically out there with the intention of fucking with the traps.
I didn't either. It's brilliant. I think it's great because it does.
Yeah.
It seems like he's just like a geocacher, like treasure hunter, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm bored. I'm in the middle of the woods. Let's see what I can dig up out here. That's kind of what I was thinking because it fit very well with the like I'm a loner and there's nothing else going on.
Right.
Vibe.
Right.
I love that by the end though he's decided he's done with the rancher. He gives him his money back and he's like, I don't want you here anymore. Get off my property.
I know. That's great. I love that too. Yeah.
That he's decided he's had enough.
Yeah.
Made me love him even more.
I know, right? I was like, oh, I really like him. And the rancher was a dick to him about, he says some kind of awful comment about, because earlier Jonah says to Danny, like, oh, I think I got off too easy or something like that. And talks about how, when he talks about how his sponsor Dave didn't turn his back on him. And he's like, but a lot of people in town think I got off too easy. And then the rancher later in the film is basically echoes that sentiment. I'm like, nice. Way to be a dick.
Oh, I see. He said to him, I thought that he said to him that people thought that he got off easy, but he didn't think that.
Oh, like, I misheard that.
Jonah
okay,
didn't
never
get
mind.
off easy, which I thought was actually really fascinating. Like, I think he was basically saying to him, like, yeah, I see you're sad and lonely and have nobody. Like, I don't think you got off easy. Like, I think you got what you deserved, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's still a fuck you to him. So same sentiment, but actually worse. But I clearly misheard that. I have a question for you. What do you think about the aunt? Her reaction when Danny tells her what happened, because the uncle's not there. He's already like left for work. And she tells her what happens and she's like crying and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then the aunt's reaction is to call the creepy uncle. Like, I'm curious what your thoughts were on that.
My blood was boiling when that happened. Like, great. Your niece, who you should care about, because you're taking her in now. You're now responsible for her.
Yep.
Is telling you something extremely alarming, and you do literally the most unsafe thing you can do, which is to call the abuser and have them come right back.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That aunt sucks.
Yeah.
She's a shit person.
Yeah. Yeah. And like part of me, because I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, you get this bomb dropped, this horrific bomb. Okay. Maybe it takes you a second to process, but your reaction should not be, oh, let's sort this out and let me call the abuser and make the whole situation unsafe. Right. Your reaction should be to protect your niece. That should be your first, like your priority, your first reaction. So I agree with you. It was gross.
Or it should probably also include, tell me all of the details. Explain to me what's happening. I need to know everything about this situation. Like, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, and
Need to
making
wrap my
her
head around
comfortable.
it.
Right, but let's go inside. I'll make you
Right.
make you some tea, whatever. But let's get
Right.
comfortable. Yeah, right.
Let's call the locksmith, change the locks on the doors before he comes home.
Sadly, far too many people don't do that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually going to say that I was going to ask you like the same question because
Nice.
it was like, oh my God, how infuriating was that moment when she was like, why did you come back here and let's talk about this? No.
I know. What? Yeah, no, I thought, again, it was such a gross reaction, but I think it was done in a really realistic feeling way.
Yes.
If you're going to have a character depict that they are completely not there and not a safe space for this poor, vulnerable girl, that's a great way to indicate that. So I think it was done really well.
Agreed.
But yes, it was rage-inducing.
Yep.
The aunt sucks. You suck.
Mm-hmm. Well, should we move on to our last movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to be talking about She Rides Shotgun, which is directed by Nick Rowland, written by Ben Collins, Jordan Harper, Luke Petrowski, and it stars Anna Sophia Hager, Taron Egerton, Rob Yang, David Lyons, and our big bad, John fucking Carroll Lynch.
Yes! Love John Carroll Lynch.
Oh, me too. When I saw him show up, I was like, oh, yeah, it's about to go off.
I know. I had forgotten that he was in this, and I was like, yes!
I didn't know he was in it at all. So when he showed up on screen and
nice.
he had that, he was wearing the hat and the glasses and had the handlebar mustache or whatever
Yep.
facial hair he had going on, I'm like, oh boy, things are getting dialed up a lot here.
Yes.
All right, so listeners, I'll read you the IMDb summary. A girl marked for death must fight and steal to stay alive, learning from the most frightening man she knows, her father. An adaptation of Jordan Harper's award-winning novel. Okay. So yeah. So we open with Polly. She's waiting at school. She's waiting for her mom to pick her up from school, and she's the last person there. Everyone else has gone home. Super sad. And even the teacher leaves and is like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then fucking leaves.
I know, I couldn't
that?
believe
You
that.
don't leave kids by themselves like
no.
that. And her dad, Taron Egerton, who is out of prison, pulls up in a car that he clearly stole. It's hot wired. There's glass on the window where he broke the glass. He's like, "Get in, we got to get out of here." And he's like, she's like, "Are you even allowed to be here? You're allowed to see me?" And he's like, "Yeah, get in, let's go." And he takes her to they ditch the car. They're at a motel. He's being very tight-lipped about what's going on, but he is teaching her okay, here's a baseball bat. You got to learn how to use this. People are going to come after you. And so you got to hit him in the knee and then hit him in the back of the head and let's practice. And he's like, there's bad people that are after me. I pissed some bad people off. Yeah, it turns out that he was in prison. He was in league with the neo-Nazis, the Blue Steel or whatever they're called, with their blue lightning tattoos. And yeah, he pissed them off. And so they killed Polly's mom and her stepdad, which she horrifically finds out from the news when she's
oh man,
channel surfing when he's asleep. This is horrifying. And yeah, it finds out that she's marked for death because the neo-Nazis are like, kill everybody, kill everyone that this guy cares about, including a character that we never meet that's off screen, his brother Nick, who was also tangled up with these guys. It seems like it was Nick's fault that all this stuff is going down. And then, Nate, Taron Egerton's character, is kind of caught up in between it because he was loyal to his brother. And yeah, it's one of those movies where they're on the run from all kinds of different stuff, going from car to car, people are shooting at them. There's a scene where they're low on money. Well, first of all, there's a scene where they go to an old friend of Nate's, and she invites one of the neo-Nazi guys over, and he has to beat the tar out of that guy, and his daughter sees the whole thing. and it's horrific. He like tortures the guy and like shoves his face in like hot coals. And then they like escape from that, and then they're like out of money, so he decides he's gonna rob like a gas station. And then while he's doing that, he gets shot by some vigilante guy, and they like barely make it out of that. Then they're hunted by this like a high-speed chase where they get away from the cops, and then like he needs to get patched up, so she's like helping him patch up his gunshot wound, and then a dirty cop shows up, and then he has to kill that guy, which thankfully she doesn't have to see another person get killed or maimed. And there's also this cop played by Rob Yang he knows that there's like this whole like meth ring in the Southwest that needs to be like taken down and cleaned up, and everyone's talking about this place called Slab Town, supposedly where it's all, you know, happening, and he knows that the cops are in it because the cops are part of the neo-Nazis, and boy does he not even realize how far it goes up at first. John Carroll Lynch coming back to him, he plays Hauser, and he's like a sheriff or something who calls himself the god of Slab Town, and he's leading this entire meth ring. And boy, is he a tough customer. There's like this like gruesome scene where there's some like, you know, Mexican cartel guy who's like hanging in the shed, and John Carroll Lynch is like, well, you got your heroin balloons in there. Let's see if we can get them out. Nope, you can't throw them out. Guess we'll just have to cut them out because they're worth more than you alive. And that's pretty gruesome. So yeah, that's the kind of guy that you're dealing with, like a neo-Nazi meth cooking crazed sheriff
who thinks he's God.
Who thinks he's God. And so yeah, Rob Yang's character is kind of like, okay, I want to take this guy down, I want to take down this corruption. So Nate, I'll make you a deal. If you go in and you take care of Hauser, like I've got a new identity for you, and you can like leave and not have to deal with like all of this shit. Basically, like I'll clean up the mess for you. And so Polly stays behind with Detective Park, and Nate goes in, and he's immediately ambushed by a fucking army of people, and they take him, and he's like captured and being tortured. And then Detective Park's partner shows up, and they get into a shootout, and he kills his partner because his partner is in league with the Nazis too. Less for idealistic reasons, like he's not really on board necessarily with the Nazis. He's kind of just like, I can't say no to these guys, they're too fucking scary. And so then Detective Park leads another army of cops to Slab Town, and there's this like insane showdown with like tons of shooting, tons of people getting killed, and Polly like goes after her dad, and she frees him, but then John Carroll Lynch gets her. She hits him with, you know, a crowbar, I think, instead of a bat, but then he takes her hostage. And in the ensuing action, Nate climbs on top and like stabs Hauser, John Carroll Lynch, and Polly gets away, but then they end up gunning down the both of them, which that's the thing in the movie that makes the least sense to me. Like he already is critically wounded John Carroll Lynch. Like why would they then need to shoot the both of them? Like they could easily, there's like a whole army of cops that could easily move in and take this one guy out, like cuff him. I don't understand why they need to kill Nate too. That just boggled my mind. So of course it's like sad fucking ending. This girl's dad dies. And they're like, okay, kiddo, here you go. You're off to your foster home with a bunch of other foster kids. And like, let's make it nice. Like we don't call them step or foster brother or sister. We call them my brother and sister. And this like sad ending where she's like dancing with other people and just like staring sadly at the camera while she's dancing her trauma.
And trying not to cry.
It is a punishing ending. Punishing ending. This movie does not let you off the hook. Like it lingers on her sad, about to cry face for so long.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, that's the movie. Any important plot points I forgot?
I don't think so. I think you hit all the important ones. Yeah.
So yeah, it's action-y, it's drama-y. There's this scene where he cuts her hair and bleaches it clearly never having bleached hair before. I'm sure he badly damages her hair. But weirdly, she likes it. She likes how it looks. So I'm like, okay, as long as she's not upset about this horrible hack job he did to her hair. And yeah, it's like, one of those like tough father-daughter road trip crime spree movies. Which I think for me, it largely works. Like, I feel like it's tense. I think Taron Egerton, I actually really like him a lot in the things I've been seeing him in lately. He is very menacing and scary and off-putting, even as the father in this movie, like to his daughter. Like it's clear that his kind of like unhinged, manic, kind of live wire energy is intimidating to her for a while. So yeah, and John Carroll Lynch, we talked about him. He's fucking menacing as hell and so scary. Like he knows how to dial it the fuck up and be so scary. He has such versatility. He's one of my favorite character actors. One of my favorite actors, period. I love whenever he shows up in something.
Totally
But I don't know. This movie got to be such a fucking bummer at the end. It was like,
this is a movie about meth rings and neo-Nazis. Are you surprised?
Kinda. I didn't think they would kill Nate. I didn't think they'd kill her dad and like have this sad fucking ending. Like, woof. I was like really into this, and at the end I was like, God damn, this movie. Anyway, what did you think of this, Megan?
Oh, I loved it. I thought this was great.
Yeah. Okay.
This is great for all the reasons you said. I have never been a huge Taron Egerton fan, but he's fantastic here. And I don't think he's a bad actor by any means. I think it's just the things I've seen him in. I'm like, yeah, he's fine. But he's excellent here. I love how he fleshes out this character. I think he gives him a lot of nuance, and I felt myself really rooting for him, even though he is very menacing. And I feel like, I don't want to say accidentally so, but very much it feels accidental because he's not trying to be intimidating to his daughter. He's not trying to scare her. He's trying to protect her. He's trying to be kind to her. And it's funny because a good chunk of the way into the movie, like at least halfway, if not 2/3 of the way through, when they're in a motel room together, and he's like, I don't even know your favorite color. I don't know what you like to do after school. I want to know about you. And it's so sad because it's true. He doesn't know anything about her, like anything big, important, the little things that really aren't so little. So I love that. I love the facets of this character and how he fleshes them out. I think Anna Sophia Hager is fantastic. I think this is such an excellent performance. And, child actors can be wildly hit or miss. And I think she's stupendous here. I think she's so good. And she also has a tremendous range emotionally that she exhibits here. I mean, whether she's screaming or crying or, whether she's angry, whether she's sullen, whether she's suspicious, whatever emotion, she is fully committing to it and giving it. And I think she is great in this role. John Carroll Lynch, cannot sing his praises enough. He's always great. It's interesting because he's usually such a sensitive, tender character in so many of the things I see him in. So to see him fully embrace this just vile, reprehensible, disgusting villain is incredible. And he's so great as him. I like the detective character who is great in Succession, and he's great here too. So I love the performances. I love the pacing of this. This is relentless.
Yeah, it is.
Like you said, this never lets up, even for a moment, and I really appreciated that. It just was such an adrenaline-filled watch, which I really appreciate. Like the car chase is incredible. The gun shootout in that motel room between the detective and his partner was great. Like there are just so many great moments. I love that it is filmed in New Mexico because I love New Mexico landscapes, very much Breaking Bad vibes. I feel like if you love Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
this is very much in the same
You'll dig
vein.
this.
Yes, absolutely. Except it's more heart-wrenching somehow. And I say that because Breaking Bad is so wrenching, but somehow it's more heart-wrenching because you have this father-daughter bond. And I was primed for this because I love Paper Moon, which is a father-daughter crime spree and road trip, and it's great. And I mean, this is that, but ratcheted up because the stakes are much higher and more lethal. But yeah, I thought this was great. Loved every moment of it. And yes, the ending is so sad. To me, I was not surprised that he died because I'm like, well, he's collateral damage. They don't give a shit about him. And so I was like, I kind of figured that was coming. Like, he's kind of hanging on death's door, like on the verge of it, on that precipice, every single scene. Like, whether he's getting shot in the leg or getting the shit beat out of him or, getting shot again. Like, I feel like he is always not doing well. Like, there's a scene where they're in the motel and he gets out of the bathtub, or he gets out of the shower. He's leaving the bathroom and the camera lingers as Polly is watching, and she sees like blood stained on the floor and on the edge of the tub. And I really like that too. I like how the cinematography is like often we're seeing what she's seeing, and it lingers on her POV, and I just really appreciate that. So yeah, I thought this was great. I liked the bleak ending. I mean, sure, a happy ending would have been nice too, but I was here for it. To me, it tonally fit. It made sense. Yeah.
Yep. It's bleak. But yeah, it is relentlessly paced. It really is. It had me on the edge of my seat. Great performances from our kind of like from our leads. Good rapport between them. Yeah. Very, very Breaking Bad vibes, as you mentioned. When he gets there and the literal army of guys came out, that was just so terrifying to me. This idea that he like thought he was going to sneak in there and they were fucking waiting for him.
Yeah. They were all in over their heads.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. One thing that was not realistic, I will say.
Yes, what?
So to get to her dad, there's like an angry Malinois that's like behind a gate that she climbs over, and she parts with her beloved stuffed bear. She throws it to the dog when the dog would want to chew it and just destroy it. There's no way that dog would fall for that. Like, those dogs, like if they're trained to be like attack dogs, would be trained not to fall for shit like that. So that's like one thing that would like, okay, that would not work, and that dog would have gotten her. Because as we've seen from John Wick 3, Malinois dogs are very scary. Like, when trained to be lethal, they can be very scary. So that was one thing I was like, nope.
That is very fair.
Yeah. But other than that, though, this movie, very, very bleak, very down and dirty. And Taron Egerton, boy, he is jacked in this. Like, scary jacked in that one scene where he's like shirtless and he's attacking that guy by the grill. I was like, good God, man. I feel like he's taken a couple of like he was in that show Blackbird, where I feel like he was also similarly like jacked, and I feel like he's been doing things where I'm like, man, he's really got like some type of like thing where it's like, let's match the role to my level of fitness that I need.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's shirtless in it, but in Carry On, it's a very physical role too. So.
Yep. Yeah. This movie was effective. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I would too.
Wow, is this an all three?
Holy moly.
All three movies this week?
Yeah, I think so.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I can't believe that when it happens.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Such a week of positivity.
I know. So together, She Ride Shotgun and To Kill a Wolf. All yays from the Spoiler Piece team here. So
yep.
Okay. Any other parting thoughts on the movies?
No, just it was a nice week. They were all great.
Great week. Yep. Always love when that happens. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thank you for making us sound so great week after week.
Thanks so much, Otto.
You can find this show anywhere you get podcasts, but you can also go to our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. We're on social media. We're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd.
Yep,
We're also
Letterboxd,
on Blue Sky. Threads. Yeah, you can find us there. Or if you want to get in touch with the show, you can send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com. You used to be able to give us a call. We'll see if we can find some new number because we lost our old number. But you can send us an email, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. We very much appreciate those ratings and reviews. They give us cred in the podcast world. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top of this week's episode, we talked about the 2006 film The Fall in our bonus audio. And like I said before, $5 a month, you get access to those weekly bonus episodes. You get hundreds of back episodes, and you get to vote in monthly polls. So all good stuff there. So thank you for tuning in this week. My name is Evan Crean, co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. And you can follow me on social media as Real Recon. That's real as in film real.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write for In Session Film. I'm co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at OpinionS World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
See you next week.
Bye.